What's going on, guys? You're watching The Hungry Handgunner. I'm Nick. Now, I am going to go ahead and let you know that today's video is just going to be me talking, so this could be a little bit boring. I also want to let you know that if you want one of these awesome new shirt designs, there's going to be a link in the description. The folks at Full 30 put this stuff together. Got a storefront over there. Pretty cool stuff. I really like the shirt, obviously. So, cool new logo, too, that they came up with. Love it. Anyway, a couple things have hit me. I made a short little video yesterday just kind of saying, calm down, things may be all right as far as the presidential election goes. Now, admittedly, one candidate is more pro 2A than the other, and I pointed that out in the video. Some people took exception with that. The old adage, nobody's coming for your guns. I got accused of being dramatic. I got accused of fear-mongering. All that stuff is against my best interest. I don't want people running out here freaking out, buying up stuff. I really don't. That makes it harder for me to get the things that I need and want to continue living the way I was living, shooting regularly, things like that. So I figure we get that out of the way. First of all, I'd like everybody to be armed, but from a place of thoughtfulness, prudence, and preparedness rather than panic and things like that. So now that we got that out of the way, we can continue. So I've been seeing people say that BiDeN is not anti-gun. BiDeN is not coming for our guns. And we're going to dispel that today. With facts, with logic, and hopefully not a lot of emotion. And this is all going to be verifiable. Links in the description for you discerning people that definitely want to validate what I'm saying. I don't blame you a bit. Most of this is going to come from his campaign website. So, to address one other thing, yes, I know Donald Trump is not pro 2A. I get that. I've said that. I've drawn attention to that. We're not going there today. That has been something I have talked about previously, and for the most part, people kind of know where he's strong and where he's weak on 2A things he said he would do that he has not done, things that he did. We're not going there today. Today is about BiDeN. Today is about the cognitive dissonance that some people are displaying. Now, I am going to do this annoying thing where I look at my phone because I don't want to mess this up. So, point number one, hold gun manufacturers accountable. So, this is one of those things that's like, if you just take that at what I just said, it sounds okay. This is a thing where people want to make it possible to sue the gun manufacturers. In these high-profile mass shooting events, this is brought up in the wake of them saying that the victims' families or the victims themselves, if they were wounded and still alive, should be able to sue the manufacturer of the firearm. Where this becomes a messy thing is a firearm is designed to have a firing pin, hit a primer detonates, powder goes off, bullet goes down the barrel. Where that bullet goes is not the responsibility of the gun manufacturer. It is not the responsibility of the ammo manufacturer. It's the responsibility of the person pulling the trigger. It's the responsibility of the owner and operator of that firearm, not the gun manufacturers. Where you do have reason to sue a gun manufacturer would be is if in the performance of what that gun was designed to do, fire a projectile, that gun were to malfunction, causing grievous bodily injury or death or property damage, if that gun did not work the way it was intended to. When a gun works the way it's intended to, what it is used for by the end user is not on the gun manufacturer. It's a dangerous precedent to set. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at cutlery manufacturers being responsible for how their products are used, hammer manufacturers, vehicle manufacturers, match and lighter manufacturers. You see where this is going. Dangerous precedent to set. I think that thoroughly explains that enough. Get weapons of war off our streets. This about the ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines that BiDeN, along with Senator Feinstein, secured in 1994 and reduced the lethality of mass shootings. But in order to secure the passage of the bans, they had to agree to a 10-year sunset provision, and when the time came, Bush administration failed to extend them. So, yeah, I didn't really live through that, except that, well, I was alive, but wasn't really cognizant of what that was until it expired. And I remember certain family members buying their first AR-15. Obviously, I was too young to do that, but I did get to shoot them. And I remember trying to figure out why it was such a big deal. I thought these things had always been allowed, and then no, come to find out they hadn't. So yeah, statistically, no, they didn't really make a big difference. Ban the manufacture and sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazine. Now this is rich. Federal law prevents hunters from hunting migratory game birds with more than 3 shells in their shotgun. That means our federal law does more to protect migratory birds than children. It's illegal to fucking kill people. End of story. Biden's an idiot. So yeah, if I have to explain to you why that statement didn't make sense, there you go. It's illegal to kill people, to kill children, regardless of how many rounds are in your gun. So there is that. Regulate possession of existing assault weapons under the National Firearms Act. Now, the NFA is a topic I've been meaning to do in a separate video, and we'll get to that soon. But the NFA basically passed in 1934. That's what makes you need a tax stamp for your short-barreled shotguns, your short-barreled rifles, your suppressors, a host of other things, AOWs, any other weapons. And it was passed with the emotional drive that this would help the Prohibition era crime sprees and stuff that were things going on at that time, where they claimed that these were being used then. Mind you that the Prohibition crime largely stopped when Prohibition stopped. So the NFA is really a sucky thing to have anyway. But it says right here, currently it requires individuals possessing machine guns, silencers, short-barreled rifles to undergo a background check and register those weapons with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. It doesn't say that it's a done deal. It implies that it's a done deal when it's not. You have to send your $200 in. You have to ask for the Crown's permission to have these things. And maybe it'll come back in, sometimes a year or more, frequently several months. As president, Biden will pursue legislation to regulate possession of existing assault weapons under the NFA Act. So your AR-15, I'm guessing that's what he's, AR-14, I might be confused here, is what he's wanting to put under this NFA. So have fun with that. If you bought an AR-15 here recently and you thought the price was high, get ready to pay $200 more. And hopefully you get permission to even have it. Buy back the assault weapons and high-capacity magazines already in our community. Biden will also institute a program to buy back weapons of war currently on our streets. This will give individuals who now possess assault weapons or high-capacity magazines 2 options. Sell the weapons to the government or register them under the National Firearms Act. So first of all, you can't buy back something you never owned. That's called stealing or extortion. The other thing is my options are to sell them to the government or to pay the government more money. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. High-capacity magazines. We're just going to pick this shit all the way apart. High-capacity magazines. So a 30-round magazine is the standard magazine capacity for an AR-15. It's not high capacity. That's like normal. That's the default. That's, you can go lower, you can go higher. Standard capacity magazine. Of course, that's high capacity to him. And we still have yet to clearly define assault weapon. So there is that. This is always good. We're going to reduce the stockpiling of weapons. In order to reduce the stockpiling of firearms, Biden supports legislation restricting the number of firearms an individual may purchase per month to 1. Now, granted, I don't make enough money to buy more than 1 gun a month, typically. What right does the government have to say you can only buy 1 a month? It makes no sense. I would like to see the stats on how that would do anything. And even then, I would still be against it, because at the end of the day, why does it matter how much of something you have? Unless you're going to do something bad with it, does that even come into the equation? No. We go on. Keep guns out of dangerous hands. The federal background check system, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS, is one of the best tools we have to prevent gun violence, but it's only effective when it's used. We have that. It's effective. It's used. Why is there a problem? Anyway, Biden will enact universal background check legislation and close other loopholes. Oh, it's getting good. And allow people who should be prohibited from purchasing firearms from making these purchases. Specifically, he will require background checks for all gun sales. Could have sworn pretty sure I've had to do that. Today, an estimated 1 in 5 firearms are sold or transferred without a background check. Biden will enact universal background check legislation requiring a background check for all gun sales with very limited exceptions, such as gifts between close family members. This will close the so-called gun show and online sales loophole that the Obama administration narrowed, but which cannot be fully closed by executive action alone. Huh. You know, I've bought guns at gun shows. I had to do a background check. Online sale. I can go online and click buy, and I pay my money, and the gun gets shipped to an FFL license holder near me. I go in. I have to do a background check. What loophole? Anyway, he's going to reinstate the Obama-Biden policy to keep guns out of the hands of certain people unable to manage their affairs for mental reasons. Okay. Close the hate crime loophole, which will prohibit an individual who has been convicted of a misdemeanor hate crime or received an enhanced sentence for a misdemeanor because of hate or bias in its commission from purchasing or possessing a firearm. So, it sounds good, but again, what are the parameters for hate crime? If an act in and of itself is not enough to make you lose a constitutionally protected right, does that act then change in severity because somebody determined it was done from a place of hate? There's just so much that's left open here, and I'm not defending hate crimes. You're an asshole if you do that, and probably get your ass beat, hopefully. The Charleston loophole allows people to complete a firearms purchase if their background check is not completed within 3 business days. This is going to extend that 3 business day to 10 business days. So you have to wait 10 business days. If it doesn't clear, you get your gun. Close the fugitive from justice loophole created by the Trump administration. Because of actions by the Trump administration, records of almost 500,000 fugitives from justice who are prohibited from purchasing firearms were deleted from the background check system. The Biden administration will restore these records and enact legislation to make clear that people facing arrest warrants are prohibited from purchasing or possessing firearms. Okay, but here's another thing, and I'm just going to go off on a tangent. If somebody commits a crime, which I know it's easy to sit here on our high horse and say that, well, they shouldn't be committing crimes. You're right, but I would urge you to look at what constitutes a crime in this country, because it is insanely easy to commit a crime. That's all I'm going to say. The things that are on the books, you're just lucky you haven't gotten caught. If somebody commits a crime, they are sentenced. If they complete their sentence, we consider their debt to society fulfilled, right? Why do they not get their rights back automatically? Now, I know people are going to say, well, it's too dangerous. Well, if they're too dangerous, then why are they out of prison? Just think on that. In the online sale of firearms and ammunition, I shit you not, Biden will enact legislation to prohibit all online sales of firearms, ammunition, kits, and gun parts. So we covered the firearms, right? Buy a firearm online. Yes, you can. It's not shipped to your door. It is shipped to an FFL. You go in, you complete the paperwork, the federal form 4473. You do a background check, or in my state, where if you have a carry permit, they make a copy of that, because if you get picked up for some sort of trouble where you would lose your carry permit, there you go. They yank that pretty quick, or it's flagged in the system. So there you go. You got to do a background check for a gun. You just don't buy one online and have it shipped to your door. I'm not aware of anywhere where you can do that, and I would think that I would have heard of that by now. Gun parts. Gun parts, so you want to change the stock out on a rifle, or you want to put sights. We have no definition of gun parts. Is he talking about completed uppers, or is he talking about a new front sight for your freaking 357? We don't know. It's still stupid, regardless. Kits. Firearms, ammunition, kits, and gun parts. What is a kit? What? There's no definition. Again, ammunition. Yeah, because maybe my UPS guy would like it if we did that, but might save his back. But why? What's the difference? What's the difference unless we're going to go to something where there's a background check for ammo, like California? Why would you restrict online sales of ammunition? Normally that's age verified with your card info anyway, so I know that's not 100%, but if all these gun laws are going to work, then why are we restricting ammunition? create an effective program to ensure individuals who become prohibited from possessing firearms relinquish their weapons. Federal law defines categories of individuals who are prohibited from purchasing or possessing firearms, and the federal background check system is an effective tool for ensuring prohibited persons cannot purchase weapons. But we lack any serious tool to ensure that when someone becomes newly prohibited, for example, because they commit a crime, they relinquish possession of their firearms. There are some promising models for how this could be enforced. For example, California has a mandatory process for ensuring relinquishment by any individual newly subject to a domestic violence restraining order. As president, BiDeN will direct the FBI and ATF to outline a model relinquishment process, enact any necessary legislation to ensure relinquishment when an individual falls under one of the federal prohibitions, and then provide technical and financial assistance to state and local governments to establish effective relinquishment processes on their own. Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, we're just going to shit all over that too, I guess. So, yeah, that means that basically, if I go out here and I do something illegal to the point where I lose my Second Amendment rights, they're going to come up with a way to make sure that all my guns are turned in. So, how do they know what guns I have? Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody? Registration, right? They're going to have a national registration for that to work. So, there we go. We're also going to incentivize state extreme risk laws. Extreme risk laws, so-called red flag laws, enable family members or law enforcement officials to temporarily remove an individual's access to firearms when that individual is in crisis and poses a danger to themselves or others. BiDeN will incentivize the adoption of these laws by giving states funds to implement them. A lot of fund giving going around here. It's a separate issue. And he'll direct the U.S. Department of Justice to issue best practices and offer technical assistance to states interested in enacting an extreme risk law. So here's the issue with red flag laws. Say that I wasn't happily married. Say that I was dating and I break up with my girlfriend. We didn't see eye to eye on the breakup. She's mad. Maybe I cheated on her. Who knows? She's mad. She knows I like guns. She knows I have this YouTube channel. She says, oh my God, he's really upset over the breakup. He threatened to kill himself or kill me. Okay. They're going to come take my guns. Until they sort this out, right? We just need to make sure everybody involved is safe. I'm going to drop links to what red flag laws mean in their execution. It ain't good. Give states incentives to set up gun licensing programs. BiDeN will enact legislation to give states and local governments grants to require individuals to obtain a license prior to purchasing a gun. Regardless of how you feel about the license to purchase a gun, demonstration of skill, competence, whatever you want to call it, to give state and local governments grants, money, to require individuals to obtain a license prior to purchasing a gun. Now I'm going to read that another way and I'm going to change the words. BiDeN will enact legislation to give states and local governments money to require individuals to obtain a license prior to purchasing a gun. He's selling your rights. He's buying your rights. He's trying to get the states to sell your rights. Adequately fund the background check system. President Obama and Vice President Biden expanded incentives for states to submit records of prohibited persons into the background check system. As President, Biden will continue to prioritize that funding and ensure that the FBI is adequately funded to mess that up. Just go right back to his website. Easy day. As President, Biden will continue to prioritize that funding and ensure that the FBI is adequately funded to accurately and efficiently handle the NICS system. Goes on to address the deadly combination of guns and domestic violence. Things like that. Violence Against Women Reauthorization Act of 2019. Partisan crap. So let me start this by saying the reason I am harping on Biden is because so many of his sack riders have come out to tell me that I'm being paranoid. Biden's not coming for my guns. No, that dementia-ridden senile old man is definitely not coming down my road for my guns. However, he doesn't want me to have them. That's evident. Or if I am chosen to be allowed to have them. He wants me to pay exorbitant amounts of money. One model I saw where it was working out if guns and magazines were added to the NFA. Now, this is a hypothetical. This is assuming that guns and magazines over 10 rounds were added to the NFA, specifically semi-automatic guns. Your AR-15, $200 tax stamp, just for the gun. Maybe you get allowed to have it. Your magazines, well, for them to be added to the NFA, they would need to be serialized. So now you have an added cost for the manufacturer to serialize each mag and keep track of that. So your mag's already going up in price. On top of that, $200 is the going NFA tax stamp rate, which we'll talk about that more in a second. $200 per magazine, just in fees to the government to have it. On top of that, where do we draw the line, right? Because you can get a Ruger 1022 and throw a 25-round mag in it. You can put all sorts of scary furniture on it. That's the problem with this. It's all emotional drivel for people that are uninformed, misinformed, or just plain freaking ignorant to buy into it because they think it's going to make the world a safer place. The same people, mind you, that are protesting police and government violence and don't think that they should be allowed to have guns or think that they should have to go through all this training, now want to rely on those people to protect them. Because we're not going to have the tools to protect ourselves. They won't have the tools to protect themselves. So, yeah. And the NFA tax stamp fee of $200, that fee hasn't changed, right, since 1934 when the NFA was passed. So I want you to imagine what $200 was in 1934. We should be grateful it hasn't, because if it increased proportionately, nobody would have an NFA item. Damn squirrels fighting. Anyway, yeah, so we should be grateful that it didn't go up. But it's still the idea of these arbitrarily selected items and barrel links and stocks versus braces and things like that, that if you want a combination of those things, you have to pay the government $200. Any dollar amount. Anything where you have to ask special permission and pay the government money to exercise a right. Doesn't sit well with me. So, we're going to wrap that up. There's going to be links in the description, guys. The stuff I was reading to you came straight from BiDeN and Harris 2020. That's their website. That stuff is out there. I took screenshots in case that changes. But I'm going to link their website, so give them some web traffic. Anyway, guys, I have absolute disdain, as I've said before, for any politician who is afforded Secret Service protection at our expense, whose Secret Service agents are armed with weapons that we can't own, to try to tell me, to try to tell you how best to protect our families. They aren't the ones that get up at 2 in the morning to see what that noise was. They aren't the ones that have to figure out how to best protect themselves and their family on a day-to-day basis. But they're going to lecture us. Let that sink in. We are not represented. And yes, I focused on BiDeN today, but this is for both sides of the aisle. People have been up there longer than I've been alive. They have no clue. They're not relevant at this point. It has been so long since they have worked as a citizen that they have forgotten what it feels like. For people that are supposed to be our servants, who's serving who? Guys, if this video pissed you off, sorry. Don't do stuff like this often. But take it to heart. There you go. Hopefully your kids weren't around when you were watching. So stay safe. Keep shooting if and while you can. And I'll see you next time.